Sarpy County residents, it's time to fill out the 2020 census. It's important that everyone be counted.
It's in the Constitution of our United States that we do this every 10 years. The reason for it is that through the decennial census, we are able to find out how many people reside in a certain area at any one time. Because of the numbers through the census, the federal government is then able to do two things: decide how many federal funds should be sent to a state to fund things such as Medicare, highways, education, and then those numbers are also used when doing the redistricting for elections, and it helps decide how many congressional representatives a state can have. With some censuses, states will increase their representation in the Congress, and sometimes it will, if there's a decrease in the population, they may lose a representative. So it's very important that we get an accurate count for funding and for representation.
There's no denying Sarpy County's recent and continued growth. That makes this census very important.
We are the fastest growing county in this state, and according to some documents, we may be the second fastest growing county in the nation. And with such population growth, it's so important that the people that live here are represented in Washington. Most of the big decisions on federal funding and different programs that affect our community, those decisions are made in Washington, D.C. in the House. Without fair representation, we are not guaranteed that we will receive the funding that we need and that programs that members of our community need to have available will be funded at all.
Not filling out the census ultimately has a negative effect in many areas.
When people don't respond to the census, it not only is an issue for representation, but funding for our community can be very greatly impacted. In 2010, after the census, they assigned $1,300 per person for every person counted that our state would receive. And you think, well, $1,300. But $1,300 one year. But the decennial counts for 10, and numbers are based off of that for 10 years. So if we have even one person not counted, that meant for 10 years, $13,000 were lost. Now for the 2020 census, they're saying that Nebraska will receive approximately $2,000 per person per year for every person counted. And when you start to look at the numbers on a large scale, $2,000 a year times 10 for even one person, that's $20,000 over 10 years. Now, if you look at it on a bigger scale, obviously we want to have a perfect census. We want to get everybody counted, but it naturally just never happens. So even if we missed 2,000 people, in 1 year that would equate to $4 million not coming or being assigned to our community. And over 10 years, that's $40 million. And that's money that goes to Medicare, to education, to highways. In Sarpy County, we have large growth and we have need for more roads, improved roads, upgraded. And without that funding, we could be at a great loss. And so one of the things I always tell people, if you have a complaint about funding for schools or for Medicare or for the roads, but you don't respond to the census, you're as much a part of the problem as not being funded.
It's important to note that the census does not ask about your citizen status.
One of the things we want people to know is that on the census this year, there are 9 questions, basic questions, like how many people live in your household, what are the ages, what are the gender. One of the questions that will not be on the census this year is asking if you are a citizen of this country. Because whether or not you are a citizen of this country and you reside in our community, we want to count you because you are part of our system. We all contribute to the community. We all use the resources that are part of the community, and you matter. So my biggest, strongest message to everyone is that if you are not a resident, please know that the information on the census is not going to be used in any way to negatively impact someone who is not here as a citizen.
There are several ways to respond to the census. Census Day is April 1st. Go to 2020census.gov for more information.